Hey, it's Don, the Auction Professor here. Today I'm going to throw another BOLO out, something I look for. I've talked about action figures and toys in general, but I haven't talked about Megos specifically. Megos are an area all of their own. They're larger size figures. They have clothing that's actually made out of fabric for the most part. There's a couple different sizes. There's 8 and 12 inches. We're going to address those now because they are big movers. They're getting harder to find. Many people just aren't aware of what they are. They show up with Barbies and other dolls stuff too on many occasions. They'll show up sometimes in G.I. Joe lots, so there's other areas to look for them that many people aren't aware of or that do miss them. But we're going to hop over to the screen now, and I'm going to show you some of the areas to look for in Megos and what Megos are in general. Okay, so today we're going to cover some Mego figures. We're just going to be talking about the 8 and 12 inch mostly today. Megos is a toy company. They made quite a few different lines of toys, including the Micronauts and things like that. They got the license for Takara and a couple of the other things like Microman and things along that line. All vintage toy lines. Megos started to come out in probably the mid to the late 60s from what I remember. As a kid, I had most of them, including Aquaman and such forth. Originally, I believe they came in boxes, and later on they were in these rack cards with the bubble on them. I believe the box versions are rarer for the most part. Usually if I find one in the box, I don't care, box or rack card, which one I get, as long as I'm getting them for a good price, because they almost always sell. Now, this is an original one. This one is actually sealed. One thing you have to be cautious on if you're investing money in these is to make sure they weren't resealed. People will pop these off and then glue them back down later on for display purposes, and some people try to con you when they're doing this. This is a very rare one. Now, there's different versions of almost every figure there are, at least in some way, shape, or form, whether it be the costume or how the stitches were made or something along that line. This one's $3,569. It's 76 bids on this one. Real prices. These aren't insane. I had tons of these as a kid. I finally remember playing with these. I even had the Green Arrow. There's different versions. They had the Teen Titans. They had Marvel. Any movie or TV series that was really popular, they made them from. Star Trek, the original series. Star Trek, the motion picture. Star Wars had big size figures. They may not necessarily be Megos, of course, but they're all along the same line. But we're going to go through some more here. This one's $3,500, 63 bids. The next one here is actually Superman dressed as Clark Kent. Now, basically, this was a set of clothing you would get at Montgomery Ward's. Extremely rare. Now, in some instances, they had some mail-away figures. They had some exclusive ones from like Sears and a couple other department stores besides Montgomery Ward's. But you can see the insane high price, $1,580 for this one. 23 bids. And this is not an anomaly. There's a ton of stuff like this that goes in this price range. The clothing just showed up separately. You probably won't even find the figure. I don't remember if it's marked Mego or not, but I have found the jacket and pants and shirt once before in my life with the figures. But some of these do show up as well with other things like G.I. Joe and even Barbies, believe it or not. So $1,580 on this one. Here's the same thing, Montgomery Ward's. This is Dick Grayson, which is the character Robin. That's his real identity versus his superhero Robin identity. So, again, this is one that you had to get from Montgomery Ward's. It was probably a mail away from the catalog, if I'm not mistaken. $915 for this one. Here's another one. This is Star Trek Mission to Gamma 6. It's a playset for the Mego Star Trek figures as well, like I was just talking about. This came out in '76, about the same time as most of the figures, which were ramping up to come out just before the Star Trek The Motion Picture 2. So they were pumping these still out. It was still playing on reruns when I was a kid at this exact time. I remember seeing all of these items. Now here is the Mego Batman Wayne Foundation. Now, this is a play set that you'd have put together. Typical for these Megos, they would have cardboard and vinyl and plastic pieces. It's kind of like a Barbie house, basically. But it's just Wayne Manor. This was another mail away, if I'm not mistaken. Some of these were pretty rare. Let's see here. Doesn't look like it says here. But either way, it's Wayne Foundation. It's kind of like the Batcave kind of thing. So $561. Now, they made numerous items for this. They made vehicles and accessories and magnetic palm versions so they'd stick on things, all kinds of stuff. Now, here is a box version of that same Green Arrow. He does look a little different, as you see. They did have different versions of him, so it just depends on which version you actually have. And as I said, as I did think, this is from 74. The bubble carded version was from 76. Now, it goes by the version as to which one's worth more money or not. You can see the Mego down there. People will put WGSH, which you see up here, and that's World's Greatest Superheroes. That is the line that these figures are known to be pressed out. And now there's several other ones, too. They just retitled it and then popped them back out a second and a third release. Again, there's many different versions. There's many different productions of these. Here's another one. Now, this is a Mego knockoff. This isn't official Mego as far as I can say. It's possible, but I really doubt it. Perfect example. Let me zoom in on the tag here. Dr. Zaius is the lead scientific orangutan from the movie Planet of the Apes. It's Dr. Zorma is what the name is on here. So it's just a knockoff, same time frame, late 60s, early 70s. Still went for $500. So just keep that in mind. Even the fake ones can go for some money. Now, if you go back to my Star Wars video and action figure video, I talk about the Lili Ledy. It's a manufacturer of specific toys. It was a license from another country, basically Mexico and South America, in that era too, Central America. All of those countries got the Lili Ledy version of like the Star Wars figures. Now, they did the same thing for the Megos. This is a very rare one. This is a Mexican-issued Tarzan doll. It's pretty scarce. I've seen a few of them. You'd have to know it. You'd have to look at it closely, but it literally says Lili Ledy where the Mego logo is too. So $461.87. Now, here's a different version now. There's several different versions of Wonder Woman. Now, this is the 12-inch doll that's actually made to be Linda Carter. Now, you'll see it loose, too. They still sell loose. And then there's also the 8-inch version that is just the Mego Wonder Woman, no specific actress, just the character. So don't mix those up. Usually that's the size that is the distinguishing factor. They made them for pretty much everything. They've made Mego-style figures for Space 1999, all the sci-fi ones from the 80s that I can think of, Welcome Back, Kotter, TV shows, Happy Days, you name it, they made them. There's a ton of them out there, even Wizard of Oz and things along that line, too. So this one went for $455. Now, here's one of the original Batman figures. So this one went for $525. Now, the later versions of the Batman had a cowl that was actually part of his head, so it didn't have a version that you had to slide over his head. Now, if you find these with the original sticker on his chest, the bat emblem, they can go for a ton more money. They did reshoots and the whole works. Even gloves from these can sell for money on their own. Just a pair of gloves or just a pair of boots. I sell them all the time. They're so popular and so collectible that there's reproductions of almost every part, including just that sticker. So $525 for this one. It's an early one, 1972. Now here's a lot of 23, just to give you a little idea on the variety of these figures. There's a ton of them out there. A couple hundred, I would gather. I've had most all of them in my time. You can see the Batman there. He has the built-on cowl, which is part of his head, versus the one you saw before. There's a Conan to the left of the second Batman. There's Starsky and Hutch, one of the characters there. Superman, Scotty from Star Trek, Spock, Green Arrow. There's quite a few of them in here. There's, in fact, one I don't recognize, but there is quite a few in here. You've got a Spock head on a Ultraman outfit, so rather interesting lot here either way. There is a Planet of the Apes up there too. They came with guns and many accessories. You can see a gun there on the left. Perfect example, $400 for that lot. Let's move on to the next one. Here's Robin Hood. Same basic principle. These may not necessarily be Mego, but they are Hong Kong marked. Let's see, produced Mego. Yeah, it is a Mego produced one. There are a lot of knockoffs. The knockoffs sell almost as well, if not better, than some of the originals, believe it or not. And some of them, whether they say Mego or not, could have still been made by them. They just market it as, a cheaper version of the toy, so they can cover both markets, the primary market of the main name brand ones, and then the secondary market of the cheaper versions of those. So they were smart in that. Now here's an ultra rare, again, there's varieties of everything. This one is the circle outfit, meaning that the spider web is basically a circle with the spider in the center. Now the newer versions, or the other versions of this, just have a standardized web. It's not necessarily in a circle. This is $425. Now here's the magnetic ones. There's actually molded on gloves on these. As you can see, the gloves are molded on. The boots are molded on too. And then the bottom of their feet and then the palm of their hands, there's actually magnets so they could stick to the refrigerator or wherever you could put them. They used to walk up walls and climb walls. It was a big gag segment in the original 60s TV series. They'd have guest stars that opened up the window and looked at them. That's where these philosophies came from. They do Spider-Man and the whole works. You know, people can repair these too, believe it or not. You can make new parts, buy new parts, the whole works. Fairly scarce, $3.95. These were later when the line was semi-dying too, so they added other features to make to increase their sales. Now now I wasn't 100% sure if this is technically a knockoff. I've seen some Mego versions that looked almost identical to this. All the Monster series sell very well, and there's a whole line of them as well too. Lincoln International, this may be a Mego. The KO, obviously Mego knockoff is what they're trying to insinuate. I believe I have the original in here too. We can compare in just a second here, but $350 on this one. Another one, World's Greatest Superheroes, Invisible Girl. This is original mint. She has the sticker. Her hair, I think her hair, yeah, she still has the plastic, or they have the plastic for her. When these were in the box, they had a little sheet of plastic that wrapped around the head, and it kept the hair in place. $349.88. Now here's Jaws. Most people may not know Jaws, the character, from the original appearance of him in the James Bond movies. Now, he was in 2 James Bond movies, if I remember right. I know for sure Moonraker. I saw it in the movie theater myself. And he's also in Happy Gilmore too, so you can look for him in there as well when he's actually doing the first golf tournament in there. You can see him in there. But anyway, $325. He's much rarer, even out of the box, than actual Roger Moore James Bond character as well from this movie. Another just little group here, just to show you the examples. Now, somebody put this together as the Fantastic Four. They probably bought them separately and, you know, just popped them together. Not super realistic, but the one that looks the best is probably the Hulk out of all these lines that I see. He's fully fledged. It just looks like a green big monster. He's bigger than most of them too, so his size is in comparison to what he should be. But anyway, this one's $313. This is a mail away, as I said. There's many versions. You can get the mail away. He has the box. That is the plus. $305. Here's just another little grouping. Now, these have been resealed, the bubbles on that. It's very hard to tell, honestly. But on the far right Klingon there, you can see a white line at the edge of the bubble plastic. That's where they glued it, and that's how you can tell real easily. Once you've seen a bunch of the glued-on ones, you can easily tell. I see them all the time. People try to pass them off as the real deal. Some of the phasers and tricorders and things like that can sell on their own as well, too, from this series. You got $300 for this lot. A little cheaper than I thought. It was a buy it now, free shipping. You could have probably got $450 out of this, whoever put this up. Now here's the Enterprise for that same figures. Now I played with this. I never had it myself, but a friend did. I had a couple of the figures, so we'd go to his house and reenact scenes. They did the monsters and the aliens from the show as well too. But $300. They did Justice League, the Batcave. There's just a ton of different things. There's another example. This is the Fortress, or this is the Fortress. Now, there's a bunch of different buildings from the Planet of the Apes. They've got, like, vehicles and cages and all kinds of things like that. It was a combination of, like, gloss laminated cardboard and vinyl with plastic pieces for some of them. This is a much cheaper version with, like, cardboard ladders and things like that. This was much less popular than the other versions of it. It's pretty cheap, honestly. But they sold. It was decent price for what they marketed it at. So anyway, $300. Here is just another one of the aliens from Star Trek, Magato. These just depend on which aliens. Some are much rarer than the other ones. I believe this is the one that Kirk battles on a desert planet. Futurama even took off on this. So did a lot of other TV cartoons and things from this era. Anyway, I think Bender was involved in some machine gun shooting and things like that. But anyway. $300 for this one here. Complete is always best, of course, but again, they make them for all kinds of stuff. Here's the black hole, and there's other figures too. This is just the main 6 characters, if I remember right. Maybe this is the only characters. I swear they made Maximilian too, but I could be wrong. Basically $300 on this lot too. Now, these show up without clothing, they show up with clothing, they show up in the wrong clothing, they show up in Barbies, they show up in dolls all the time. I get a Mego a couple times a month easily. Sometimes I'm lucky enough to get a whole bunch of them. They sell immediately. Action Jackson sell, G.I. Joe sell, any of that stuff. And I've talked about all of these in other videos as well, too. If you haven't seen all my videos, I've got like 340 or so, maybe even more than that at this point, videos up right now. Every one covers something just like this. So my model, my channel is pretty much all the same type of material, same, conversations and the whole works. So if this is what you like, I honestly recommend going through the rest of my videos. So Laverne and Shirley, these will probably go up because one of them passed away just a little while ago, Penny Marshall. They even added that in the title here. So $300. Just going to show you a few more. Just pique your interest. You've got to know what to look for to be able to get the right items. Then research them once you do find them as well before you shell out the money. Now, this is one most people would miss too. They show up mixed in G.I. Joe, Barbie, across the board. I found a pair of this outfit here in with some Dawn dolls, which are way too small to even fit these in. But you'll find just bags of doll clothes and things like that. I always look through them because even if they're not from Mego, the Barbie vintage dolls, the Dawn dolls, any of that stuff, any Mattel vintage 60s, 70s doll clothing sells regardless as long as it's in good condition. It's all made the same way, the same material, same snaps, same zippers, same everything as the Megos basically, other than the size for the main difference there. But basically $280 for this. These just don't show up. They're, again, mail-aways, so you could customize. I don't know if they say that. Montgomery Ward's. They were mail-aways. You couldn't just go out and get these. You couldn't get a figure like this. You had to have these outfits. I mean, I think it had a head you could put on, too, if I'm not mistaken. Because obviously you can't use the Spider-Man's character head, because on the main version of it, his head is actually permanently a Spider-Man's head. So anyway, let's move on just a couple more. Now here's another version. Now this is the better version of basically the same, and this one says treehouse, but it's basically the fortress, but a plastic version. You can see the same little prison cell on the left, the same gun, same everything else. This is the better one. This is rigid plastic. Held up so much better. I played with this exact basic toy. I've had most of these or played with most of these as a child. I've had them again many times as an adult. They're getting harder and harder to find, but I still do run across them. It's not strange. $282, 26 bids. It's near complete from what I can see. Much better condition than most that you will see too. It's got a lot of the parts with the guns, the small parts too. So $282 as I said. And the last item here, people don't always know it's a Mego. Now, a lot of the times the sticker's worn off, and you might just see this little minivan, minibus VW without the flower or any of the stickers. You just got to know. You can kind of tell by the size of the vehicle. There's Spider-Man vehicles. There's all kinds of vehicles. The Batcycle, the Batmobile, across the board. Wonder Woman's, I think Jet, was one of the things you could get too. There's just a ton of stuff in this line. It goes on forever. It's got a huge high sell-through rate, so across the board, these are good items to get. $250 for this one here. It's in real nice condition. Even in not so great condition, minus the stickers, minus the flower, you still get $60, $70 for a decent one. The stickers can be replaced. You can find the flower occasionally. Most people, if they find it, don't even know that's what it is and throw it up in a lot of just junk stuff. And that's how people find some of this stuff too. But Megos are a killer thing to find and sell. Look for them, know about them, ask for them. That's another thing. A lot of people say, I can't find it, but they never ask. If you're in a mall, ask. If you're in an antique store, ask. If you're at a flea market, ask if they've got the big like Barbie style like superhero figures. Don't call them Megos. Don't give them any information to be able to look that stuff up, unless they say, "Are you looking for Megos?" If they offer that's what you're looking for, then say yes. But if not, don't give them Megos. Don't give them the keywords to look these up, and give them a reason to wonder why they might be worth something. Say they're for your kids. Whatever you want to say, if it helps you. So anyway, that's what I have for you today. Well, there you go. Those are Megos. I look for them. I had them as a kid. I buy them. I collect Well, there you go. That's Megos. I had them as a kid, as you heard. I've played with them. I know most of these by heart. I would not miss a Mego. I pick up every one that I find. They always sell, no matter what. Parts, pieces, clothing, whatever you have Mego-wise will sell for you. But that's what I have for you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified when I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell a friend.